Entrepreneur MBA podcast purpose is to help existing business owners grow their companies past the 10 million in revenue per year benchmark. Here is your host, Stephen Halasnik.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Halasnik, and I am co-founder of Financing Solutions. Financing Solutions provides easy to set up lines of credit for small businesses, and I will be your host for today's Entrepreneur MBA podcast. If you are interested in learning more about a business line of credit for you, and I sincerely recommend that you would, I've over 25 years, I've almost always had a business line of credit. I remember the first time I came up with that idea, that I needed a business line myself, was when I almost missed payroll, and I said I needed a backup plan. That was a long time ago. So please visit our website at fscreditline.com. That's FS as in Financing Solutions, creditline.com. Over the last 25 years, I've built 6 companies in the $5 million to $25 million range, including 2 companies on the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies in the United States. I love learning from people with business experience. And today I'm very excited to be speaking with Derek Champagne from the Artist Evolution. Derek is the CEO of Artist Evolution, a marketing firm that manages brands and campaigns in multiple industries, from startups to household names. He is the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck, endorsed by Seth Godin. Champagne is also a nationally published musician who has made musical contributions to soundtracks of television shows on ABC, TV, MTV, Bravo, Oxygen, and the E! Channel, amongst others. Derek, welcome to today's Entrepreneur MBA podcast.
Hey, Stephen, thank you so much. And we're not talking about this right now, but man, your intro talking about the line of credit, I just wanted to say an amen during that. So thank you for sharing that. I love
Well,
the
anybody
message.
who's been in business long enough knows that you gotta, have financing is one of the, not just lines of credit, but business financing in general is one of the big obstacles that you have to tackle. It's just gonna, if you're not going to be tackling that, then you're just not going to be growing your business. That's
100%.
Sage advice. Maybe you can grow it from $500,000 to $750,000, but you're not going to go from $500,000 to 10 million. It's just not going to happen. And
Right.
I remember someone said this to me once. They said, learning about business financing is a landscape in itself. That you're going to have to learn the jargon and all of the nuances, because everybody who hasn't gone to a bank, right? Not to belabor the point, anybody who hasn't gone to a bank, and this isn't about my company, it's just about business in general. You just don't understand how hard it is to get a loan, a line of credit, or, you think it's just like getting a mortgage. It's not. It's right. Really challenging. So, I agree with you 100%. So Derek, I'm excited about today's podcast because before you and I got on, we were talking a little bit about the topic that we wanted to cover. And when you told me a little bit more about marketing and your involvement in it, and you told me that you did 2,000 audits, I was like, whoa, someone who's done 2,000 marketing audits, is going to be able to give us some generalities as to what successful businesses do, what successful businesses don't do, right? And as a lot of my listeners know, my 99% or 95% of my day is marketing. That's what I do, right? So my job is to generate this, to have the systems in place that have clients coming to us, right? That's what I do. Right. I'm not talking about sales calls. I'm talking about, marketing. So I'm a big believer that your business is going to have to do that to be successful. So, when we talked about the topic, which is, again, what 2,000 business marketing audits have taught me, and this is you, Derek, of course, I am excited to hear what you have to say. So give me 3 things that you think that you have learned by doing all of these business marketing audits.
Yeah. Thanks, Stephen. First of all, what I like about this is it's not my just subjective opinion. It's from seeing
love
all
data.
this. And what happened? There are actually 5, but I'll give you 3. But there's 5. I wrote a
give
book
me
on
5.
it.
Give me 5.
5 popped out. And here's the disappointing part, Stephen, is they're not earth-shattering. And I wish they were, because I would be so much cooler if they were. But they're not. They're fundamentals that are extremely important. And every time we went back, there are all these commonalities that keep happening. In fact, in household brands, we had a client come to us earlier this year that is one of the biggest brands in the world. All of us have it on our computer right now, and they needed help with one of these categories. You would think they had it figured out. They're a well-oiled machine, and they were missing this one piece. We're like, sure enough, there it is. And so I'm going to share them with you, and they're simple, but man, dig in and challenge me on them, but I'll share them. So the 5 are, the number 1 is, who am I? Just a better understanding about what the brand is. And I don't want to get all talking about story brand and all those things, but just like a real clarity about, here's who we are. Here's our position. And with real clarity, here's our product and service. Here's how it really stands out in the marketplace. Here's how we're different from our competitors. There's muddiness around that a lot. And you can't have that. If you're like everybody else, if you don't know who you are, then you really are having a challenge. I've heard you talk with some other guests, by the way, and I've listened to several episodes. Great show. The challenge around the brand. And at the end of the day, a brand really is what your target customer knows about you if they even want to have a chance to do business with you. So it's really that simple. Like, do you have something identifiable that you can put a stake in the ground in? Now, this is what we work with several companies that have gone through Series B, Series C. They move fast. And sometimes there's a challenge for those companies because they haven't had to figure all that out. They had a greater idea. They had VC behind it. They move real fast. And then they're going back going, oh, wow. We've got one company that's a $200-something million company in 9 months. In 9 months. How envious am I that they could do that? I know we're talking to entrepreneurs who have grinded to get to $1 million. And congratulations. I've been there. I understand. And have grinded to get to $6 million. But imagine going to 180, 200 million and you don't know who you are. And that's scary. And you've got money thrown behind you. So number 1 is just really getting a clarity. And I've got tips on this, but getting a real clarity on who am I. Second one, who are they? Imagine that. See how simple these are? I mean, this is what this company hired us to do. We think we're talking to the right customer, but we're not sure. Like, we're not connecting somehow. We're not identifying correctly. Or have you heard this? We're just having dissatisfaction around who we're bringing in. Our customers just seem to be, they're just not great fit. And here's all this marketing and noise, and people are writing blogs and doing podcasts. And some of your listeners, some of them probably maybe even have built a great little marketing team now, and everybody's doing busy work. But then they're complaining about the types of customers that are coming in. Well, they haven't identified who are they, but they keep doing it and they keep servicing them. And then, so here's a flag I see when I'm doing an audit. If I see employee turnover, sometimes I go, okay, it's leadership, or it just might be, they don't go to this first. It could be they're bringing the wrong kind of customer in and they're fatiguing them. And the fatiguing is giving an odd friction workload that just is not the right alignment. HR is mad. Invoicing is mad. The product's not satisfied. The widgets and gadgets aren't matching up properly. And we find that friction point sometimes is from the wrong customers coming in and just completely derailing this beautiful company. It's not the customer's fault. It's the company's fault. They're bringing the wrong product to this wrong customer. It's not the right fit. So, I mean, does that make sense?
Oh, completely. Yeah.
It's simple, though.
It's so simple. Yeah.
But here's the problem, Stephen. Oh, it gets so frustrating. We'll go in and look at a budget, and some companies are spending a lot on marketing, and they keep going and they're just plugging away at it. I'm like, but you're talking to the wrong people. And they go, yeah, but they won't stop and fix it. Stop and fix it. In my book, I say it's 108 pages, something like that. I say, just would you guys, if you have any confusion around your marketing right now, would you just pause? You can read it on a plane ride. Just take a quick look at it. You might give me a bad review and say it's simple. It's 5 things, but just read it and make sure you're not missing one of these 5 points. Because if you are, just stop and fix that one point. It might slow things down for 2 weeks. It might slow things down for 2 months, but then you're on the right trajectory of all the other challenges. Like, you're limping along because you're lifting the weight wrong on this side. It's hurting this part of your body. Fix that. And so I never recommend more spend on anything. I never recommend anything until we know that these points are correct. When these are dialed in, that's what we call the gaps in strategy and execution. When those gaps are all dialed in, we know that there's going to be a better chance for that marketing spend to be going in the right place. And we've seen companies go for years this way, and not have to fix it. The third one is having the right tools. This one might be the most frustrating one for me, Stephen, because it's the most easily fixable. I can't tell you how many times I've seen even a big campaign where we looked at it and saw, oh, your bounce rate is high on the website. Like, you know this because you've got your system dialed in with marketing. But if your bounce rate is high on the website, that means you have a challenge. Either the wrong people are coming in, or you're bringing people in and they're leaving real fast for some reason. And that's just one example. Like we had a company the other day that it was schedule a consultation, and this is a high-end tech company. And you press schedule consultation, and it goes to a general contact form. You just spent how much to bring them there to lose them now? Like, why did you do that? You didn't connect the dots. Your tools are the connecting dots part of it. If your messaging is right. So I keep going back to a website because that one is one of the biggest offenders in today. And so on the tool side, fix your tools. Pause and fix your tools. Don't go to a trade show and lead people back to an outdated website. Don't bring a brochure that looks like junk, that doesn't really share good messaging with no incentive, no call to action. Stop and fix your tools. If there's anything along your customer journey where you're seeing that they might be bouncing out, fix those tools. Then go spend. That's the number one. That one offends me, Stephen, because it's the easiest one to fix. Because I mean, how many companies are going, if I could just figure out how to grow. If I could just figure out, I'm at this threshold. I've been around for 10 years. I've hit this maturity cycle in my business. I guess that's all there is to it. Yeah, maybe you've capped out. Maybe so, it happens. Is there a chance though that you're not fixing some things that can help you grow? So where are those gaps in your marketing tools? The next one is having a plan, having a marketing plan. Like without a plan, we don't know where we're going. There's so many companies that don't have a plan. And I'm not saying you have to build an 80-page customer research plan, but I'm saying, do you have a plan that we can look at and go, okay, so show me what you're doing. Show me your marketing plan. Like just show me your go-to market strategy. What are you doing? Okay, you can write on a piece of paper for me. That's fine. Let's type it in one page on a Word document, but show me what you're doing. What are we measuring? Like what does success look like? How are we backing into that? How do we even know what we're supposed to spend if we don't know what we're trying to get? And all this busy work happens. I just see so much busy work. And if time isn't our most important resource, I don't know what is. But when you look at a marketing department and see how much activity is happening, or if you see a company and they have this misguided activity, and then I hear things like, well, marketing doesn't work, or funnels don't work, or whatever doesn't work. Okay, let's do a quick audit. Open the hood. You're probably right, but let's just open the hood and see what's happening. Okay, I do a podcast. You go and look. Oh, you did a podcast once 4 months ago, so you weren't consistent with it. Okay, right? It takes consistency. Yeah, I mean, I share an example on podcasts when I first started doing one. I don't know if you've seen Seinfeld very often, but there's an episode where Kramer gets the Merv Griffin set out of the trash can, sets it up in his apartment. That's what starting a podcast feels like. You feel like you're talking to no one. Your family's committing on, what are you doing, right? And you're broadcasting to nobody yet, but you're consistent. You have a goal. You have a vision for it. Everything you're doing in your marketing should fit in that. And you need to have it written down in a plan. Make it simple. I've got 2-page templates. Use a 2-page template. That's fine. Then the last one is execution. So who am I? Who are they? Are you using the right tools? Do you have a plan? And are you executing consistently? And that one is really the one that we see fall short often. It's quite an offender. And a lot of times offender, I know we're talking to a lot of smaller businesses right now. A lot of times, so I'm going to blame management right now if you have a marketing team, because I work with a lot of bruised marketing teams and marketing directors. I do. And they're wearing 50 hats. And if they're wearing 50 hats and 1 week they're supposed to be at a trade show, but then they're also supposed to be an SEO expert. And then on this side, they're also supposed to be designing graphic ads that are compelling. And over here, they're supposed to be doing, they're wearing so many hats that they're fatigued. And so not everything is being consistent, and they're juggling. And if they're juggling 99 things, they don't know how to do a lot of them, then things are going to fall. So execution, but the caveat there is execution with a good support team that knows what they're doing, right?
Yeah, so I have a couple of thoughts that came as you were saying that, which I think is, you hit the nail on the head so much. And I'll tell you one of the things I learned early on in my career, and that was I actually had to stop reading business books because I found that I would read another business book, and God forbid when I would get back from a conference, my team would go crazy because I'd come back with so many new ideas, right? And I found I had to really, I'm a very creative person, and I found that I had to really focus on reading a book and really, really, really executing on that book, what was going on. And I think that that's a big problem with a lot of smaller businesses is they don't focus on those 5 fundamental things that you are talking about, that I was to say is over the next 3 years, just do this. Just focus on answering the questions to those five things, the marketing things that you're talking about, and implementing and executing on that. And just do that. Don't do anything. Don't, read this other book about advanced marketing or this other book about customer service, or because every entrepreneur I know is extremely into learning.
Right.
And
it's
I
fatiguing
think
on our team, Stephen. And,
yes.
If I can get off on a management thing for just a second, because, we've dealt with that in our own agency. I'm the creative guy. We hired a COO, and the first thing he told me, this was dangerous. He said, your job is to come up with 20 ideas a week. And I said, that's it. Right. Because I'm up early thinking of ideas all the time. Now, the difference, though, is those go into a safe place. So if you have some kind of operating system of how you manage your company, EOS, whatever it is, I'm not advocating one over the other, then the creative, the visionary, this energy and driver injector, which those things are important. And we do get some of that fuel. Yeah, there's overkill in reading because you can. But if you start coming up with different ideas every day in a huddle, and your team's literally doing a yo-yo, which I see happen in client meetings all the time. We'll sit in with the client, and the visionary will be on that call, and we just see the whole team, and they start to slink down. And this is all on Zoom. You start to see them sit lower in their chair. You see them go on mute, and you're actually just marginalizing your marketing driver by doing that. It's confusing. So having a safe place to put ideas where it's vetted through, you go, great, let's roll that through in fourth quarter. And so I'll usually put a discretionary column. If we have a wild visionary CEO and they go, no, we go, great. Here's your discretionary crazy budget. Here's your kind of experiment budget, but it doesn't fit in here. We're going to test and incubate it over here if you must. And a lot of people listening they can't help themselves, right? We got to tinker a little bit. So that's the point, though, is give it a safe place if you're going to do it. But you are 100% right. Stick with the plan. We have an acronym that we coined called PETMAG. PETMAG. Plan, execute, track, measure, adjust, grow. You didn't hear emotion. You didn't hear new crazy ideas. It's make the plan, track it, measure it, adjust it, grow. Just formulaic.
The second thing that I learned over that 25 years plus is there's two things. The first one is you got to have a strategic plan, and it's got to be in writing. But what I learned is it should only be one page. And there's a very famous guy who is very, very well known in the entrepreneurs circle because he started the Entrepreneur Organization. He was one of the founders of it. He started Birthing at Giants, which is another sub of it. And his name is oh my God, Vern Harnish. Vern Harnish, right?
I've talked with him before.
And Vern Harnish came up with this idea of the one-page strategic plan. Now, at one point, I would have a strategic plan that grew to 5 pages. And what I noticed was I couldn't execute it. I didn't stay, on top of reading it. And when it was just one page, I put up on my bulletin board, and then I would have a note that would go off every month. Look at your strategic plan. Look at your strategic plan. And I would go to a coffee shop, and for 2 hours on a Friday, once a month, I would go and look at my strategic plan, update it, look at my KPIs, look at how we're doing. And I loved it. I really enjoyed doing that. It got me out of working in my business to working on my business, which is a famous Michael Gerber concept. And so what I learned next was from this one guy who said that, and I've mentioned it a couple of times on other podcasts, is that entrepreneurs are autodidactic. They are self-taught. And also another guy told me is he can present how to do something to a bunch of business managers for big corporations. And the business managers will implement exactly what he told them to do. But then he says that same presentation to a bunch of business owners, and they're tweaking it, and they're changing it, and they're using it so that it helps them.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is take these 5 questions that you are talking about, put it on your 1-page strategic plan and have it right there in front of you. And you don't, like, if you want to Google Vern Harnish's 1-page strategic plan, I would highly recommend it. Now, some of those things that you're talking about they might be on it. Some of them might not. You might like the wording the way that Derek, our listeners might like the way Derek put it better. So, change Vern's, because it is an Excel document, so it's editable. And so I would do that all the time. I would take his document and I would say, you know what? This part I don't really resonate with this, but with this I do. And I think that really made a difference in my discipline of being able to then execute on my business ideas and our team. And then this is the last part, Derek, on what you're saying is everybody in a company has to know it.
Yeah.
You
Right.
really have to go, unless it's a serious, private KPI that you have there. Everybody should know. You should have a meeting, once a quarter. This is our strategic plan. How are we doing against it? Are we living our strategic plan? So, I mean, those are some recommendations that I, would recommend to add to what you're saying, Derek. And I think you hit the nail right on the head. We try to make this business or any of our businesses more complicated than it needs to be. And
Yeah, the
I'll
more
tell you this,
complicated we make it, it's harder to have stakeholders buy in, right? When you make it more difficult, first of all, it's because we have complex minds, right? Because we're the visionaries. But when you make it difficult, and then when you keep changing things, it's hard for your stakeholders to buy in. And in order for you to hit scale, you must have buy-in from stakeholders, and that's your employees and your customers. And otherwise,
Yes.
you're causing confusion and dissonance. And when you get an alignment around a simple mission, aggressive BHAG mission, but still digestible, your team can get behind you and really move mountains for you.
Yeah, and I think Vern has done a lot of good things, Vern Harnish, and he talks about huddles, which we used to do all the time. Now, the company I have right now is rather small, so we don't need the huddles, but the small in employees, not small in revenue, but
Right.
which is the best business to have, by the way. We did huddles. My biggest company had 110 employees. That was my biggest company, right? And we would have huddles just so that we could ensure that everybody was on the same page, which is what a huddle's for, right? It's not for discussing problems or addressing things. And what I've seen, companies that are, what's not sexy about business, but it is to me, is great execution. Ideas
100%.
is the fun thing.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But you can't just keep coming up with ideas. You have to be able to execute on them. And that's the thing.
You
Derek,
nailed
that's
it,
what you were talking
Stephen.
about before.
You nailed it. Again, I mean, creativity falls on is on the workshop floor if there's no execution. It means nothing. Everything else means nothing. It's worthless. Everything is worthless if you don't have consistent execution. You will, and if you don't, here's one of the values of consistent execution. Well, the obvious, the football analogy: first down, right? First down, second down, third down, first down. You just keep hitting towards that end zone. I mean, that's an obvious one. Most execution doesn't happen with a Hail Mary right into the end zone, a 90-yard pass. Most of it is first down, get to the first down. And when your execution is consistent, you have better measurement. Now I'm at the 50-yard line. I can look back and go, because we've been consistent with execution, I know that we started on the 20 and this team's on the 50. Now here's some adjustments we can make in the play to get to the other 20-yard line faster and more effectively and beat our competition. But there's a formula there, and without consistency and execution, you can't even find where to measure. Execution solves a lot of challenges because it helps you identify where adjustments need to be made. And you can't tell me that pivots and adjustments aren't necessary in a 2022 company. We have to be watching all the time. There's internal and now, external factors all the time, from technology to natural disasters to, economy changes, world economy changes, you name it. There's some kind of factor that if it hasn't hit your business, it's going to at some point. So you've got to always know how to measure and how to make adjustments. It's critical, actually, I think, not just for survival, but to thrive in your company.
Tell me, I know you run mastermind groups, and tell us a little bit about what is a mastermind for those who don't know. How do you think it really helps a business owner or their teams? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm involved in two different types of masterminds, and I'll tell you the value. The reason I'm in it, Stephen, is because I personally tried it and it was a game changer for me. And I'll give you the reasons why. So I was a customer first. It wasn't like I had this idea, hey, let's do masterminds. I'm busy enough. But it was such a game changer in my life, personally and professionally, that I stuck with it. And I've been in it for over 5 years, enough so that a mastermind I was in, I ended up facilitating and teaching in it, 150 business leaders from 5 different countries, and then started my own marketing mastermind because of the impact that it has. And here's how it helps a business owner, and then I'll also tell you, or a C-suite leader. What it does is it gives you a place for accountability. And I'll tell you now, Stephen, I don't like accountability. I like making the decisions. I like calling the shots. But I also realize that there's a spot in me that if I can put accountability to this talent, right? I'm a stallion and I need a corral of some kind. If I can have a mirror put up to me or some kind of accountability, I can actually be better. And so in the masterminds that I lead, there's weekly accountability. People come in with their marketing plans. They come in with their business objectives and go, here's what I'm trying to accomplish right now. Here's the ahas I have from this week. Here's where I failed. Here's what I learned from it every single week. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what you need to hold me accountable to next week. Am I getting there? Am I getting there? And everyone can see each other's accountability. And you kind of build like this personal board of advisors. Small business owners can relate to this. Thank God for me that my wife grew up in a small business family, because if it's still to this day, the conversation around the table, business comes up. You're driving on a date with your spouse, business comes up, right? It pops up everywhere. And this is one nice way where you can kind of vet it through outside of your internal team. If you're working through some things, you can work through this kind of trusted board of personal advisors of sorts that are wearing the same shoes as you, non-competing industries. And they're just going, hey, I have a challenge here. Does this make any sense? We had someone that was actually, one of the challenges we had last week, Stephen, was around an LLC. And we had someone that came in and they're trying to grow their business. They're in the DC area, great business, big company, and is trying to figure out how to get new customers. We dug a little bit and found out they don't actually want new customers. They do, but they don't, because it's going to cost them month one of paying in advance for the products. And they've got to go get an extra LLC. They need more money, more funding for it. So here we are trying to solve a problem around growth, and then realize, oh wait, you need the money if you get the customers to afford them in month one. There's a whole nother challenge. He never would have uncovered that. He would have just sat there and tried to figure it out, maybe for 5 years. I don't know. Or maybe just grew really slow. And so it's about removing friction points, understanding that you can trust the people around you, coming with real-time intel. Well, you'll start with, hey, what's a new tip or technology or trend right now? What do you have? What's working? If someone comes in, I'm dealing with this HR challenge, or, I've got to go into these new marketplaces. Who has ideas? What do we do? And it's a real-time sharing to get the best information that you can, moving fast, 1 hour a week. That's the value for me. That just really, and another thing is understanding consumer demands and changes. Like when you bring that many minds together who are that successful and busy all the time, and you can also be in their shoes for a few minutes. I can't tell you, there's not a week that goes by for 5 years that I haven't recalled something I've heard from someone else's problem or success that I've been able to apply in my own world somehow, either to a client or to my own situation, even when you don't expect it.
I belong to, I'll quote unquote, a mastermind group for 25 years, the same group with 9 guys. And, but mine goes through the entrepreneur organization. And so, the mastermind groups are facilitated by professional facilitators. Is that correct?
That's correct.
See, that's nice. That is nice. Because, we are self-managing our group. And we've always thought, you have to have such a huge commitment, the 9 guys, in being able to stick through the ups and downs of the group. because it wavers sometimes up and down. And we meet. It used to be 5 hours once a month, every month. And again, the group's been together. 7 of the key people have been together for 25 years.
Wow.
And when we've had like 5 or 6 or 7 people who have, who came in and then are out and whatever. So, but now we have 9 people. But what's also a little different with this forum group has been fascinating in that in the beginning we were all young and we were all running our new businesses, and we were all struggling, and we're all dealing with all different problems, employee problems and growing problems and financial problems and blah blah blah. But a lot of people in the group have really built multiple businesses just like me. Every single one of them. Nobody has just built 1 or 2 companies. They've built them, they've sold them, they've built them, they've closed them, they've built them, they've built other ones. It has been incredibly fascinating to watch the career, the entrepreneurial career. We have people now who shockingly, sold their businesses, very successful, and now are working for big companies.
Wow.
And they love it. And everybody thinks, oh, entrepreneurs would never do that. And these guys, 2 of them, love it. And so it's been fascinating to watch each other's career. But on that note too, what's been fascinating is I don't think we've talked about a business idea or a business issue in several years. Because what happens is after you've run a business for 10, 15 years, you know what you're doing.
Right.
And so now it's all, we went through this phase where everybody was talking about their kids. Now almost everybody's kids are in college or out of college. And now we're talking about retirement, or we're talking about marriage, and all these different changes. So it's, the forum group is a little different. And then the mastermind group, I like the mastermind group because it usually is, I think there's a little more energy to it. The forum group, you have to make a real commitment to stick it out because there's
real value in both. And to have a group
maybe
that's
you're
gone
right.
20, 25 years is incredible. Those are the ones that you can do life with in a different way. And I'm a member of a group like that too, where it's more about balance in different areas. We talk faith, we talk family, some business, but it's more of a balance, and that's enjoyable. And I think it's a real value to it because it kind of keeps a grounding, and it kind of gives you perspective all the way around about where you fit in the world this time. You can't always talk to everybody like that. You guys have unique experiences that you've gone through together. It's not bragging when you tell war stories. You're just part of that. The other group though is high energy. I facilitate mine and I keep it moving. That my goal is when you get out of there is that your head's spinning and your notebook's full and you are ready to go take on the day, and you are armed with a notebook of not new ideas like we talked about early on, but I've solved some problems and I'm ready to go. HR problem solved, this problem solved, and I got some new techniques, new tips to go share with the team as far as better automation, better execution. And that's really the goal of that one.
Yeah, and you're right, because Mastermind didn't come out until I don't really remember hearing the term until 15, 20 years ago, or 15 years ago. Like EO was the big thing. There's 15,000 members in EO. At least it used to be. It might be a lot bigger now. But you're right. We have 2 guys in my EO group who belong to Mastermind Groups. So they see the value in both. So, but it's interesting. So you talk about those 5 things that you mentioned in marketing, right? What was amazing is when I started, I've started 7 companies. I've just kind of, I say 6 because I kind of forgot that I had started 7 and I've just gotten so used to it. I just said 6. Awesome. But when we started, and the last 10 years, 11 years, I've had a business partner, whereas prior to that, I did not. Well, when my business partner and I spent 3 years doing angel funding together, we're just kind of looking at that space. When we decided that we were going to start this business, the financing solutions business, and I have this other business called Elite Funeral Funding. Um, it within we got up to speed with everything like within a month because we knew exactly what we needed to do.
Right.
And a lot of it, like going over those 5 questions, was so intuitive to us.
Right.
It was like, oh yeah, we're going to start another business. Okay, well, who are our clients? Okay, well, who are they? So on and so forth. All these. How are we going to measure it? What's their KPIs? What are the tools we need? What accounting software packages? What type of accountant do we need? Okay, what type? How are we going to incorporate it? We're going to LLC. What are we? C corp? S. What are we going to do? It was like boom, 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 boom. Right? It was when I first started. That took us 3 to 4. That took me 3, 4, 5 years to kind of understand.
I'm telling you, Stephen, I share that all the time. Is that if you start with this, the good news when you start with this is you save up to 5 years of not just guesswork, but frustration and lost time
and
to
marketing
market,
dollars,
depending on the industry, and marketing dollars and all these things. I mean, confusing your team, confusing your audience. And so when you start that way, you're getting 5 years ahead. Like to your point, you launched in a month.
Yeah.
Now you learned it over many years how to do that. You and your partner, you're a well-oiled machine at that point. But those that are listening that haven't done that, you get those skills. It'll apply to anything that you do as far as launching new companies.
And just keep in mind,
the process
and the revenue went right with it. So like we got up to $500,000 in revenue per month in 6 months. So it was, we got up to 20 million in 3 years. I mean, we were just, it was just now. And listen, revenue is, it depends on the industry. Well, someone says they have a $20 or $30 million company, depends on the industry, right? So, but let me tell you, it's a very good business. This is the funeral funding business that we're involved with, and the financing solutions does extremely well too. But the net amount is, I think you're right. I think my message and I think Derek's message for today is, implement less, focus on those 5 questions, really, really try to execute on that. And then you can start adding on to other ideas that you have. And I think that's really the main takeaway. I think the Mastermind Group is a fantastic idea. I really like it. I think Derek probably is a fantastic facilitator, especially because of the amount of experience that he has. And I would highly recommend that you either join EO, an entrepreneur organization, or you look at, the Mastermind Groups that Derek has and others. I think that it's a no-brainer that I am where I am today because of the people I surrounded myself with, and that was those groups. So I totally agree.
And I want to say too, I love Vern Harnish. I've interviewed him. We're doing his next scale up event. Our business will be there doing something with it. I can't recommend Vern and EO enough.
He's great.
Including the plan you recommended. It's really practical. I mean, if someone understands scale, it's Vern's group. They do a great job of focusing on maximizing what you have and running lean and getting to that scale mode that's consistent and repeatable.
I agree. Yeah, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. I would like to thank so very much Derek Champagne from Artist Evolution for coming on to today's podcast. If you like today's podcast, please feel free to share it with a friend and also subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. Those reviews really help us increase the viewership or listenership of the podcast. It's one of the algorithms that they use, and the Entrepreneur MBA is listened to by thousands of people. It's really quite amazing. I started it 4 years ago because I thought it'd be fun, and now it's really turned into a great, a lead generation source for us. And if you're looking for a line of credit for your business, you can call us at 862-207-4118 or visit us at fscreditline.com. That's FS as in Financing Solutions, creditline.com. Derek, I'm sorry. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, thank you. If the mastermind concept sounds interesting, DerekChampagneMastermind.com, or you're welcome to look at me up on LinkedIn. I'm active there, so just look up Derek Champagne.
Great. And I want to tell our listeners today too, right now, as of this podcast, it's summertime. And, one of the biggest mistakes, one of the reasons why I've been able to do this for 25 years is because I always took good care of myself. I always made sure my health was good. I always make sure I was physically fit. Being in business is a hand-to-hand combat sport. And if you don't take good care of yourself, you're not going to make it. You're just not going to make it. And you're not going to be at your best. And so it's the summertime. Make sure you're taking some time for yourself. You don't need to be working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. If you are, I'm going to tell you from firsthand experience, you're not doing the right things. So you might love your job, but your health is more important. So I would just recommend everybody take good care of yourself and get out there, smell the roses a little bit, and go enjoy the nice weather. You certainly deserve it. And let me tell you, your employees will appreciate that too as well. Everybody have a fantastic day.